It's just hugely important to the local community. And it is also advertised by Darlington Council as one of our wonderful green spaces. They actually called it the jewel in the crown of Darlington.
We need to protect our natural planet because our planet is under threat.
I think the area means a lot to people. It's historic, there's loads of wildlife, it's peaceful.
It would spoil the area, it would decimate the wildlife and the countryside, and all the history of that area would just go, it'd be gone.
I grew up on the edge of Skerningham, and that was my playground as a child. What better playground could any child want? It helped me learn to respect nature and the environment from a very early age, and I've kind of seen it mature. Thought of it being under threat now from a large housing development, just not right. It can't happen, and we're going to do everything we can to try and stop this. My name's David Clark. I'm a financial advisor. I have been for the last 25 years. I specialise in mortgages. So, I know how hard it is for some people to get on the property ladder. I heard about this garden community in the Northern Echo local paper, and I kind of, can't get my head around that because it's such a large development. And when I have actually looked, the Ministry of Housing prospectus about these garden communities, they talk about like local communities being engaged from a very early stage, from design through to delivery. So to read about it in the local paper, I don't think that's quite right.
There was an absolute shock on how we as residents learnt about this huge development. A friend of ours that used to come down here quite regularly to what was the stables next door sent a message saying, "Hey, have you seen Facebook? Why is that? There's going to be a huge housing estate and development where you live." No, there's not. Yes, there is. So sure enough, we went onto one of the Darlington pages, and there it was. It's going to be a garden village. Skerningham Garden Village. Right, okay, nice to know. Hi, my name is Fred Greeno, and I'm a local North East lad. However, if my accent sounds a little bit different to being local, it's because I spent 36 years in the army. Joined as a young man, retired as a major. We moved here 14 years ago. Both my wife Donna and I have been fostering now for 20 years. I was appointed the local Darlington parish spokesperson just over 3 years ago. When I first arrived, the previous occupants left a lovely little brown envelope. And in there are lots of local walks, including Darlington and the River Skern. And having read that, walked the area, I'm an avid walker, okay, you'll see me out with the kids, out with the dog, etc. What I learned from that was the beauty of the countryside, the wildlife, and how historical this whole area is. When you come into the village here, you would have driven over Darlington Bridge. A local stonemason found there a sword and a bronze scabbard. Darlington Hall is then right next to it. That's where the Colling brothers, or one of the Colling brothers lived. The other one lived at Ketton Hall. So in this area was bred the Shorthorn, the Ketton ox. You then follow the river along, and on the right hand side as you're following that river, you've got the beautiful hills there. They're known as the base of the Welsh Hills here. And it takes you to Ketton Packhorse Bridge. Turn left, on the other side, and you've got Skerningham. Skerningham dates back to 1390, a medieval village. So beautiful countryside, beautiful wildlife, and so historic.
I've never seen wildlife like I've seen up here, and I think it's because we walk this area twice a day, every single day, rain or shine, and I have seen so much. I've seen an otter at just feet away from me, badgers, foxes, deer, and the bird life is phenomenal. I'd never seen a cuckoo at close quarters till I moved up here, and jays and the migratory birds that we get up here. I think the wildlife's got the biggest impact for me up here. It's just phenomenal. The council are proposing to add this area into the local plan. Theakston's and Ben Hoochin have put forward the idea of a garden village at first, but they've changed it to now community, which is slightly different. It's really urban sprawl, wanting to put up to 4,500 houses here build on all the land. That the forest would be, Tees Forest, that was planted using public money would be mainly taken down because there was talk of the golf course moving up here. And we'd just lose this huge area of countryside, which once it's gone, it's gone. We won't get this back.
My name's Leanne. I live over Barmpton. I've lived here all my life. I've explored around here all my life. Once I heard there was going to be a garden village put here, it sort of spurred me on to document what wildlife was around here, what could be lost or displaced. I joined Darlington Wildlife Group and was inspired by their photos, and then I bought a camera of my own and just started walking, and every walk I went on I took my camera with me, and that way I could capture just whatever was here on the day. I just think the farmland, the woodland, everything's so important for wildlife, and it's the start of a large wedge of land which is untouched by roads. So you can just walk for miles and you just feel at peace. I've seen a lot of birds on the red list. It's linnets, yellowhammers, the skylarks, which you can start to hear again now in the spring. I saw a red kite briefly passing over. No matter what the season, you get something out of the area. It's beautiful in all seasons. So in the winter it'll be crisp and cold, and then you'll get the muddy autumn, and summer's beautiful, and just spring, it's all coming alive. I just think it makes you happy. It does me anyway.
1 minute it's going to be 200 houses, next minute it's 300, 400, 500. It's never ended. All it is money. My name is Brian Pavey, and I look after the farmlands in the Darlington area, both in the security and as a gamekeeper mode. I'm 84 years of age coming up now. I've known the area since I come out of the forces. I served 30 years with Her Majesty's forces. The lands in the area which I look after is from Barmpton Hall around there, right the way through Skerningham, right up over the top towards Brafferton. And I look after all the farms in that area. And so Skerningham's quite a very, very important part to me. And all around that area of Darlington, there are deer running, there are hares, rabbits, all sorts of wildlife. Basically what will happen is, once they cut the trees down, once they cut the hedges down, put a road there, all of that's going to disappear. The whole of that area will be decimated from wildlife. You'll find a lot of people, and I don't care whether they like it or not, but a lot of the people in charge don't live in the area that are having decimation. They might live somewhere miles and miles away, so whatever happens in that area of Skerningham doesn't affect them. As far as they're concerned, you know, it's a housing estate and money's gone into it, and we're going to get something back from it.
There's a saying I quite like, and it says, "No one snowflake thinks it's responsible for the avalanche." And I think that's quite apt, because no developer, no council thinks that they're responsible for the decline in species, for the total runaway of the climate that we're going to have if somebody doesn't do something. I first heard about the plight of Skerningham from following Leanne Carroll on Facebook. She posts the most beautiful wildlife pictures of the area, and I became interested in her work as an artist. I think probably at the same time I heard about the plight of the woodland from David Clark, who's been a significant and fantastic campaigner for many years now. Nature is abundant, but people want to make money, and they see it as a way of making money, a way of making cheap money. We see it as a place to slash, burn, scatter, displace, develop. And that's why we're in the situation with the world that we are. In my lifetime, 50% of the species on Earth have disappeared. So that's why this area, this woodland, this farmland that's threatened is so important.
Skerningham actually acts as a large corridor for wildlife. So if a housing estate goes in, 4,500 houses, and all the roads and infrastructure and the noise and the pollution that would come with that, and then later on a northern bypass going in, it would completely sever that corridor for wildlife.
We actually found out about the potential Northern Link Road through the local newspaper, the Northern Echo, and then through social media, through various people spreading information. So there's been no contact directly with the business and landowners en route. The plans that appear mainly through social media, because there's been very little published, that they seem to want to allow access to the local countryside for this to potentially be an outer ring road or a new boundary where development can encroach up to. So everything within this Northern Link Road, the provisional road, they could put housing developments over the future decades.
I think it's just a lack of trust. When you hear about things in the paper, you lose faith in all the powers that are there to try and keep you informed. They say they'll keep you informed, and I think they just do it, they don't. I think with reality, they're using the new Northern Link Road as an engine for the urban sprawl. They're wanting to put loads of houses up, and it's going up to this Northern Link Road if it goes ahead.
One of the great things with regards to this large block of countryside here is that it has no roads or infrastructure within it already. So it's just the farmsteads and the current wildlife, which have such a large and vast expanse. It's not just about the here and now. People have looked after the landscape around here and elsewhere for all the generations in the past, and we're just current custodians of it. So we've got to leave it in fit state for those in the future.
Nobody but nobody is saying we do not need houses. We will always need houses. But do we need the quantity that is required? That's the big thing. Do we really need to rip up the countryside? Do we really need to do that? What should be happening is, in my eyes, it's requirement, not aspirations. And the requirement should be to cater for the elderly, to cater for the single people, to cater for everyone else, and be affordable.
Everybody wants the town to thrive. I do. I've lived here all my life. I love the place. I could have moved many times, but I've decided to stay in Darlington. We want the town to thrive, but what we don't want to do is lose all of our accessible green space. It's going to be an awful lot of expensive houses going in there, which isn't the true housing need of Darlington. It's more affordable housing. There's brownfield sites. We could develop them and give Darlington more affordable housing, which is the true housing need for Darlington.
This precious land to the north of town is home to wildlife galore. However, if it is built upon, its habitat will be no more. I walk here often with my dog. My mind is cleared of woe. If tarmac replaces nature though, I will have nowhere to go. I'll have to get in my car when roads are already packed to find somewhere just as wonderful that bulldozers haven't yet ransacked. I feel my heart rate rising as I march through this landscape. Body, mind and soul are stronger. From bad health there is an escape. I've seen deer, badgers, hares and more. The heron though are rather skittish. A green and pleasant land we can use is what makes us truly British. We have a lovely golf course here that doesn't need to move into a community woodland though. Of that I do not approve. Our council wants us to explore our fields. They say it is good for health, yet here they are planning to sell them off, all for greed and wealth. So take the children out on field trips here. Teach them to gather cherries and plums. Life isn't grasped by sitting inside, but getting out and off our bums. We have the rolling Welsh mountains that remind settlers of home. So much history is in this area that we enjoy to roam. It's not just meeting human need that counts, but taking care of nature. So stop, take a breath and consider this before carving up acre after acre.